Hi, my name's Chrissy. For those of you who watch this and don't know me, I'm really mostly doing this for myself, but this is my first mental health vlog. I am planning on doing this once every few months to document my progress. I think it's really important for me to do so because I'm currently on the road to recovery and I want to be undiagnosed with BPD and not meet all the criteria anymore. Um, I don't really know where to start with this. But so I guess my, road with BPD has been um, very rocky. BPD it comes from traumatic experiences as a child. I mean, there's genetic factors too, but it's usually that's what sets it off because people with BPD have um, issues with the parts of the brain that control impulse and emotion, um, that being the frontal lobe and the amygdala. The amygdala processes emotions, the frontal lobe is all about impulse control. Those with BPD are often diagnosed with ADHD, which I am as well. And usually unipolar depression as well. Um, I guess for starters, as a kid, I experienced a much different childhood than a lot of other people I know. I mean, I'm very grateful for what I have. Let me first off start by saying, but as a kid, I was severely abused, sexually, physically, verbally, for about 7 years. Um, and shortly afterwards, my mom left. She would come back every once in a while, but every couple months, and she'd be drunk, and we'd take care of her. It was really hard as a kid because I was alone with my four siblings. Then we eventually got separated too. We all stayed in different places. I had always self harmed and exhibited a lot of the behaviors, especially as a child. I was super angry and lashing out all the time because I wanted attention so bad because I didn't have that attention at home. And, that's really sad, but it's okay. I'm not dwelling on it. I'm actually okay with expressing it because I understand and I want to share my story because I want people to know that they're not alone and I want to get better and I'm not ashamed of my experiences anymore. Um, and it's wrong of me to bottle it all up and not use it to help others. I don't think my experiences make me stronger or anything than anyone else. Um, I don't see myself as better. I don't think my experiences justify a lot of my behaviors. It's just an explanation. Um, but yeah, when I was in eighth grade, I moved in with my dad, and he's awesome, and I'm really grateful for him because he helped me kind of get on a path with diagnosis and all of that, which is awesome, and I'm super, super grateful because I wouldn't be where I am today without that. But I was diagnosed with BPD when I was 17. When I was a junior in high school, I tried to commit suicide. I've had a really extensive history with mental health issues. The first time I was hospitalized being actually when I was in third grade. Um, as a child, I had these crazy anger issues, and um, it was really bad. I ended up staying in a hospital for a couple weeks in third grade, and I got bullied a lot for it actually as a kid, and it was really hard for me. But I just kept acting out because I wanted the attention so bad. Um, but I'm glad that I was in the hospital at that time, because the other times I was in the hospital, that helped them diagnose me with borderline personality disorder. Um, but I guess, so when I was 17 and diagnosed, I ended up doing DBT therapy. And I feel really bad because it was such, like, DBT is such an amazing tool and it really works. But I did not take it as seriously as I should have. And that's caused me a lot of issues today. Um, and I'm, back in a program and I'm back working on things and I'm trying really hard. And I do see a big difference. But it is really hard for people with BPD to accept help, because it's so hard, because when you have BPD, um, when you start to feel like you're getting better, you usually are so prideful that you're like, okay, I'm fine now, I'm fine, and I don't need help. But then you go back down this like slippery slope, and it's really scary. But that's kind of what recently happened to me. Um, I acknowledge a lot of my shortcomings in the last year and a half, 2 years. I definitely was not taking care of myself, and it was really, looking back at it, kind of embarrassing. Um, I suffered from extreme paranoia. Like, it was awful. I was constantly thinking people were out to get me. I was so anxious before specific things I would throw up. I would physically just like start hurling, and it was awful. Everything was a big deal. My suicidal ideation was awful. I was actively participating in self-harm again, whether it be directly cutting myself or starving myself or working out to the point where I threw up. It was just always something else, and I just felt like I couldn't get control of my life. It was always one thing after another, and I just wasn't dealing with my issues. And I feel bad because I know it took a toll on a lot of people that like I really care about. I definitely neglected a lot of people's feelings, and really ran some people dry because of my emotional instability, and I feel awful about it. Um, it I feel terrible about it every single day. I need to learn to forgive myself, but right now it's more so just getting better and then acknowledging my wrongdoings, and hopefully I'll be able to get past them at some point. But I think it's important that people with BPD or other mental illnesses hold themselves accountable, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I've been doing that for about 7 months now. After someone really important to me left, I kind of had a mental breakdown, and I'm really surprised that I'm still here today. And I'm really grateful because he had actually called the cops on me, and I was taken to the hospital, and that was a really big wake-up call for me. I was just kind of like, I need help. It was out of control. It was disgusting. Actually, it was. I. It. I'm just, in a way, I'm glad it happened, because it really needed to. I moved back closer to home so I can get into a program and go back to my old psychiatrist, and so that's kind of where I'm going to start with this. So, with the paranoia I was experiencing, I had extreme emotional instability. My relationships with people were super rocky, and I was kind of a toxic person, and it wasn't really on purpose at all. I wasn't necessarily trying to be any specific way. I just really needed help, and I don't blame anyone for walking out of my life. I don't blame anyone for feeling a specific way. I don't blame anyone for not wanting to be a part of that, because I needed to help myself. I can't rely on other people to help me. So I moved back, and now I So 3 medications changed my life. One that I was not previously on and needed to be on, especially, which is lamotrigine, and I blacked out my personal information. But so this is lamotrigine. I take 2 25 milligram tablets a day, 50 milligrams, and it's a mood stabilizer. Um, it's really, really good for anyone with rapid cycling, or like unipolar depression, which a lot of people have in BPD. It's specifically recommended for people with borderline personality disorder. Um, it works really well as like, I don't know if anyone watching this would know what Abilify is. It's supposed to be taken with depression medication to help it work better. And that's another thing with that medication. Lamistol is the brand name. Lamotrigine is the generic name. I also take fluoxetine, which is Prozac. I take 40 milligrams a day. And then I take Focalin, which is an ADHD med, once a day in the morning. So with those 3 medications, after having brain scans and other things, they have really drastically changed the way my brain is functioning. I'm much more able to sit and think through things. My emotions are a lot more stable. I still have and of course my ADHD meds help me with everything. And for the last couple months that I've been on these, it's been about 5 now, I've been able to get out of bed every single day. And I can't even remember a time when I was able to do that for like the last 2 years. It's crazy. I feel normal. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a blessing. Like, I'm so grateful, and I'm really lucky. But I don't know, it's just been really interesting. Coming from such an unstable kind of like period of my life where I really didn't know what was going to happen every day, and I didn't feel like myself. I felt like a ghost. I didn't feel like I was there. Even times where I thought I was happy, I felt nothing. I was empty. And when I did feel things, it was just super intense emotions that I couldn't control. It was fucked up, for lack of a better way of explaining it. It was unhealthy. It was ruining my relationships. It was ruining my life. I had to drop out of school last semester because I was not okay. My financial situation was awful because I was impulsively spending all the time to compensate for feeling bad about myself. And that is just not healthy behavior. But it is very textbook borderline personality disorder. And it's hard to realize those behaviors when they're happening. And it's also hard for people on the outside looking in because they don't really understand why you're doing it. And honestly, you might not understand why you're doing it at the time either, which makes it even harder. But after moving back to Winona, I was able to get on medication, get back in a DBT program, and now I have financial stability. I have, stability in my relationships. It's been really amazing, but I've been doing a lot more research. Luckily, campus, there's so many different resources, and one of them's an online library, and then so I can read like scientific publishings about BPD and other mental health issues, and then there's also a lot of books. And I found this book, and it's actually really, really helped me. I've been reading it like a little bit at a time because it is very hard to read sometimes. Just like is a little bit depressing because it talks about how people with BPD are their behaviors are misinterpreted. And that I think that's probably the hardest thing about having BPD is you want so badly for people to understand you, um, and you end up just pushing them away because you're trying so hard. And people get really intimidated by the constant, like, word vomit. And I don't know. Another thing is people also always see self-harm or suicidal behavior as manipulative. And I think the reason why people see it as manipulative is because there's always an action following it where people want to help. Because, I mean, people want to help people, right? Like, you care about your friends and family, but, people with BPD don't really think about that. They just are really reaching out. They need help. I've definitely done some stuff that, with my self-harm especially, that I'm not proud of. And I think about it very often, but at the same time, it's important to remember that that's not who you are. That's not, anything that you need to be super ashamed about, because, I mean, it's just a part of being mentally ill. It just shows how real it is. But I've come a long way in the last 6-7 months. And my plan is to continue to work on meditation, anything with dialectical behavioral therapy, always trying to make sure that I'm like up to date on all the information, what I can do, because there is a way to not be re-diagnosed with BPD. And it just takes a lot of hard work, and you have to be persistent, and that's really unfortunate, but it's just a part of, like, the recovery process, unfortunately. Just like any other sickness, you have to, take time to figure it out and get help. But I think the thing that makes these kind of mental illnesses so much harder to take care of is that they require constant following through with anything. And people with BPD often start things and don't finish them. I do that all the time. I've started so many things and just never finished. Like, whether it's making people things, I never finished when I was going through depressive episodes, or when I was doing art, I've never finished when I was going through depressive episodes. And I think the biggest regret that I have with my mental health is making it seem like I was so withdrawn that I was kind of neglecting people that I cared about because I couldn't care for myself even. It's really sad. You think about how much you push people away, and it hurts a lot. I don't think I've ever hurt anyone more in my life than I did over the last 2 years. And I can't really explain why, besides the fact that I was just ill. And I think about it every day. But I'm really determined to make a change. And so this is where I'm starting. And I want to make more progress. I've come a really long way so far and have held myself accountable for things and have really continued to work for this. And I want to keep working for it because this is really the first time in my life that I have seen a future for myself. I always have, wanted to die, or, I never really felt like I was going to make it very long. I never felt like any of my goals were attainable or I was ever going to get there. I also just have never, for the last 2 years, I haven't really had a consistent sense of self. I was just trying to fit in with people that I, just wouldn't fit in with. And I pretended to be someone I wasn't. And I am going to make sure that never happens again. I think it's really important as someone with a mental illness like this to remember what types of people I need to surround myself with. And even though I know I've hurt people and I know that I've caused a lot of issues, it's important for me to remember that the people that care are here. And some people care and they just can't do it anymore. And that's fine. That doesn't make them bad people. It's really easy for people with BPD to think of it in black and white. That's usually something that happens, but you can't, I don't know, you have to actively work against that because there isn't black and white when it comes to any situation. Just like with people with BPD, like people see our behaviors as one way, but really it means something completely different to us in our heads. And we need to make sure that we're doing that for other people. People with BPD are really highly empathetic, and that's probably one of my biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses. I give people so many chances, and I feel like I'm pretty naive when it comes to knowing what kinds of people are good or bad for me. A lot of my experiences over the last 2 years have really taught me what I need to do in regards to, picking and choosing. And, I'm not saying that people that are toxic for you are bad people. Anyone can be toxic to you regardless of, whether they're a good person or not. Just like I'm very aware that I was extremely toxic to other people as well. That doesn't make me a bad person. I really care about other people and I feel awful, but it doesn't mean that I wasn't toxic. Like, I have to hold myself accountable for that. Just like anyone else with BPD, we need to hold ourselves accountable for it. There's no, if you don't, you're just going to get stuck in a recurring pattern. I can't point fingers at anyone else because I can't control anyone else's behavior besides my own. And I think that's a big step in recovery. I think the first thing you have to do is admit that you're wrong. You have to hold yourself accountable for your actions, and you have to actively work on them. And then progress takes time. I'm hoping within the next 5 years I can be no longer able to meet the criteria for borderline personality disorder. Maybe it'll come quicker than that. I don't know. Honestly, the amount of progress I've made in just 6-7 months has been astounding, and I feel so much more grounded and like myself. And I'm able to go out and have fun with my friends. I am able to focus in school. I go to work every day. I pay my bills. I get things done, and that's just crazy because I was never able to do that. And I understand that when people talk about these things, sometimes it's viewed as a holier-than-thou thing, and I'm not trying to do that, and I apologize if it's coming off that way. I am just trying to do the best that I can for myself. I was not doing that for a long time, and I guess the bottom line is, where I'm starting with this vlog is I'm acknowledging that I've hurt a lot of people. I'm acknowledging that I have a lot of issues that I need to work on. I'm acknowledging that I have a disorder and I need to keep working on it, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be coming back to this in another couple of months and then making another one, and I just really hope to see some steady growth with the help of medication, and then also being determined to make a change. I really hope that I can bring something out of this because I want to live a good life, and I want my friends to live a good life, and I want them to be able to be happy and healthy with me in their lives. I had a partner that I hurt because I was so withdrawn, and I just want people to know that with BPD, it's not your fault. When someone is withdrawn or distant or having issues, it's not on you. It's us. It's our heads. We're sick. And it's not an excuse. It's an explanation. And and those of us that really care are going to hold ourselves accountable and really work on it. I would like to think I'm one of those people because I do really care, even if people don't think I do, or it seems like I don't. I really care, and I want to get better, and I'm taking the steps, and I'm here, I'm trying, and I'm really grateful to have so many, awesome friends that really care and are here to support me. And, I'm really finally happy for the first time in a long time. I mean, I get really sad and depressed thinking about things I've done to hurt other people. And I'm embarrassed by my actions over the last 2 years. I'm super embarrassed, and there's nothing I can do about it besides get better and move on, because you can't change the past. And, all you can do is change your future. You put things in motion. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. And I'm really hoping that I could come back to this in a couple months and see some growth. But yeah. So this is my first kind of like diary vlog about my mental health. I don't really care if anyone watches it or whatever. It's really just for me. But